Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second episode of the Erbekees Experience. I'm joined today with my co host, Melanie.
Hi, everybody.
Today, we're going to kind of go over what to expect when expecting a puppy. So, I'm going to kind of go over my process and how I work this. So, for the people that are actually deposited in advance, what I do is when the puppies are born and I know how many we have and how many sexes, male, female, I start contacting everybody offering a puppy. So, once you accept either male or female, we kind of go on from there. And initially, I send you basically three different emails with information. The first email is just what I call an info dump, which includes all my general information. It's like training and what puppy food I use. Just anything you can think of that I have that I share with people is in this email. So you'll have that so you can go over a lot of really good information there. I also send a email with important dates, which is very similar to my timeline tab on my website. So that's going to walk you through the first 8 weeks when I have the puppies. It's kind of going to go over, pretty much week to week, and you'll have exact dates of what I do or what I need you to do and that kind of thing. So that just kind of really helps the process, from start to finish. I think a lot of people don't really realize, this is both for you and for me. When you're planning your 8 weeks, you kind of need to know what to do and planning pickup and all that stuff. So there's a lot more to it. I kind of lay that all out so everybody knows what to expect from me and I know what to expect from you. We'll kind of just go through it week to week. There's a lot of information on the website on different tabs too. So if you look at the what to expect tab, it's a little bit different than my timeline tab, but they kind of go hand in hand. So you'll kind of want to look at that tab first and then move over to the timelines. So one of the things I kind of wanted to touch on is I think a lot of people see my websites and see all my information and kind of, some people get overwhelmed and some people just think it's a little much. It's a little much for a reason. I think people don't realize that, when I'm doing this, there's weeks I'm spending 20 plus hours on phone calls, emails, and other things like that. So I really, for my own organization, I like to have everything out there. Very simple. This is what we're doing. It just kind of really helps everybody go along. If you can't meet some of the deadlines, that's something that you can always come back and talk to me about. It's not like, this has to be, I understand there's certain circumstances that things will be a little bit different, but, I'm willing to work with you on that to a point.
Communication is key.
It really is, and I think sometimes we lose that or there's a lot of confusion, and I think, it's really hard when you're working with so many different people and so many different personalities and, I think people read emails wrong. I can just write as a a really simple email and then they'll come back at me and they're like, "Oh my god, you're so aggressive." I'm like, "Well, no, I'm just kinda putting my stuff out there." So, I think people find I'm pretty blunt and to the point just because I have so much going on, and, if you ask me a question, I'm gonna answer it, or if I have a question, I'm just gonna ask it. I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail. I will if you want me to. If you pick up the phone and call me, I'll probably babble for 2 hours, but, in the emails, it's pretty short and sweet, and we kinda leave it at that. But yeah, always willing to talk to anybody about anything. So, outside of emails and stuff like that. So always feel free to pick up the phone and give me a call if you have questions about any of this. Like I said, I just try to make it simple for both of us because there's a lot going on over the next 8 weeks. And I did want to mention something today. I'm going to start something new. Moving forward, I have a litter due any day, like literally any day. She is ready. I think her due date was February 1st, so she can go anytime. But I thought I'm going to start a video diary.
Mhm.
I'm going to do a little bit of video of this litter every single day that they're here in the kennel from birth to after they leave. And I think that's going to be I'm really excited about that because I think people don't really, you see the pictures I send, but they're weeks apart, so you miss so much. So I thought I would just kind of focus on one litter. I'm just going to do this one time and I'm going to have it all compiled in one area, somewhere. I don't know where I'll put it, probably on Facebook, but and people can go and just kind of watch and just see how these babies grow and see how.
How they change. Maybe a
Yeah,
little bit more of their personalities in the meantime.
exactly. Yeah, and it's I don't think it's so funny because some days I go in there and like, oh my god, are these the same puppies? Because they're like, one day they're just laying there little blobbies, and then they just kind of blow up, and then they're walking, and it's just amazing. I don't think even from litter to litter and all the litters I've had over the years, it just amazes me every day. I mean, the change is just crazy. So I'm kind of excited about that to add that into all this. I hope you guys follow along on that. We'll label it day by day so you can kind of, just watch it as we go. And if you miss a few days, you can go back and find them really easily and see that growth. But yeah, I think that's really going to be fun to watch. So anyway, I'm adding that in. So, as I said before, week 1, we kinda just, we're just getting started. The big thing that I ask people to do is make your vet appointment. A lot of vets, I'm sure you know,
Weeks out. Mhm.
sometimes you have to wait. So, you'll have your week that you're picking up your puppy. A lot of people at this point will already know what day they're coming to pick up the puppy. So make those vet appointments right away because I do ask that you take your puppy to the vet within 72 hours of you taking them from here. I just like to agree. Of course, I do my end on 6 weeks with my doctor. And by the time they get ready to go, I know they're good, but I want you to know they're good, and I wanna agree on that. I think that's a big one. We need to make those vet appointments, and you'll probably need to be scheduling your boosters as well. That's a big deal. I know at one of these podcasts we do, we're gonna talk about parvo and all that stuff and how important it is to do those vaccines on time. It's really a big deal, especially in some areas. So that's kind of week 1. We just kind of get going with it all. I send you some pictures, and like I said, this next litter we're going to be doing a diary, so that'll be new. So then we skip over to like week 3. Week 3 is when I like to start scheduling people who need assistance with delivery. If you need us to fly the puppy anywhere, if you need us to drive the puppy, if we have any kind, even me going to the airport. I need to schedule that because my schedule's insane. I'm usually planned month by month. So, it's really, for me, it's really inconvenient to wait till week 6 or 7 and try to schedule with me because I'm already so booked out. I don't know how your schedule is. I don't know. I think it's just more common courtesy to get this going because it goes fast. People don't realize you're on week 3, but that's going to fly by. And next thing you know, you're going to be coming to pick up your puppy. So we need to get that going. I like to see that wrapped up by week 4, only because if we're doing airline or anything like that, the sooner you book that, the cheaper it's gonna be, number 1. I mean, that's kinda huge if you wait until if you're 10 days out from your flight, the most of the flights are gonna double, if not more, who knows? But, so yeah, we need to get that all wrapped up in that week 3 to 4 pocket. If it's a couple days late, it's not a big deal, but we need to be working on it. So, um, I tend to have a lot of, I don't wanna say problems, but I think a lot of people maybe don't understand the schedule like I do. I mean, I'm a planner, so, I need this on my schedule, and a lot of people, they're calling wait until week 6 and just don't understand why I'm like, "Okay, we gotta do this." And I have a lot of people kinda, take advantage of that situation, from litter to litter. Most people are really great and get that scheduled with me right away, but there's people who are dragging it on for days, weeks, and, it just really makes it complicated for me, and, I'm not gonna be available, that's probably a good chance. Once my schedule's done, once somebody's already booked with me, that's concrete. I mean, I'm not gonna go back and switch people around, so I do ask that we get that all going between week 3 and 4. So that brings us up to Week 4, oh, this is the fun one, payments. So this is a topic that I'm sure every business owner kind of dreads. I have amazing people and I don't really have any problems with this anymore. I used to. Getting people to pay was always an issue. And then, you had the bounce checks, you had this, you had that. My payment options are very clear on the website. I don't deviate from that. What's there is what I do. You can pay by credit card, but unfortunately, I do have to pass along that fee. It's like 4%. So, that's up to you. You can pay in cash when you come pick up. There's several different options, but so for the people paying by a personal check or anything other than cash at pickup, it needs to be done by week 4. And I ask that only because I've had many weird things happen over the years. I've had 2.5 weeks out, checks getting returned, and you just never know how long it's going to take for that to clear. And I've had people try to pay me right before they pick up their puppy with a credit card and then reverse the charges, and I've had all kinds of stuff. So I'm pretty firm on my payment policy. If something comes up and you just can't make your end of the commitment, we can reschedule for another litter or whatever you need to do. But yeah, that's all pretty straightforward as far as that goes. Let's see. So week 5, moving on to week 5. This is the fun week. So this is when we go in and we do the individual pictures or video of the puppies, and we put their little collars on and we start picking. So picking of the puppies is done by order of deposit. So it's basically the first person by date who put a deposit in for this litter gets the first pick. And then we just kind of move down, first, second, third, whatever, however many puppies we have. So once I have those little collars on and I do the pictures and get them all uploaded, we just I send out an email and I'll name who's pick number 1 for boy and girl, and they'll have 24 hours to basically pick their puppy out. I do not do any more in-home picking. There's a tab on my website about this. I've actually pretty much closed my kennel to the public due to a lot of things. And I kind of think I need to touch on that because I know a lot of other people or breeders or whatever, that's the first thing. And I always said this too. Oh, it's a red flag if you can't go see the puppies. And I get it. This is a touchy thing, but I've actually had somebody try to break into my kennel and steal my puppies while I'm here. And I literally had to arm myself and, protect my puppies and myself. So I'm a little freaky anymore when people, come to the house or anything like that. So for that one specific obvious reason, I have locked my doors to the public. You're not coming in my house. And I'm sorry if that's a red flag, but I have plenty of video and I don't even know how many reviews I have on Google that, talk about my kennel and everything else. So, at this point, it's just the way it is moving forward. Besides that incident, I've had multiple times where people come in and they step on the puppies, I had one incident where they dropped a puppy. I've just had some really weird stuff happen in my house. Uncontrolled children. I've got, you'll be sitting there talking and they'll be back in my bedroom jumping on the bed. And I mean, I've had oh my gosh. I could probably sit here for 2 hours and just tell you some of the weird things that have happened in my home, in our home with the puppies, with people coming in and stuff. So I hope you guys can really, understand why I've come to this decision. Like I said, I do go into it on the website a little bit because it was a really hard decision because I've always invited people in. I'm pretty Southern. It's come on in. Can I fix you a pot of coffee? If people are coming in late, you want to come for dinner. I've done that for years and years. It just seems like as time goes on, it's just getting weirder and weirder with people. So yeah, so there's no more coming and picking out your puppy in person. The about the closest I get to that is if I'm at 8 weeks and I for some reason still have 1 or 2 puppies available, if you come to pick up one of those puppies, I will have them outside and you can pick at that point. But that is the only time I let people pick between puppies. They have to be unspoken for at 8 weeks when you come and pick up. Everything else is used to always be done just by pictures, still pictures, but now that we've started this whole thing we're doing, the video as well. Melanie helped me with the last pictures, and that went so much better. I know the first time I tried to do it, it was me by myself with 5-week-old puppies, and I'm trying to do it with my hands and, like, video at the same time, and needless to say, some of the comments were pretty rank about, how I was holding the puppies and what, and I'm like, "What?" Y'all just don't get it. This is this is harder for me than it looks, trying to get those puppies, somewhere where you could see their face and all that other stuff, so
When uh the new litter that you have, are you gonna do the collars sooner than week 5?
no, that's a good
No?
question. I'm not, and here's why. I don't like the collars, period. I mean, over the years, I've done all kinds of different things with collars. I've had puppies get their arms stuck in the collars. I've had,
Mhm.
their collars get stuck on things. So I wait until the very last minute as far as putting those collars on. And now I use the breakaway collar so
Mhm.
that if another puppy grabs it or,
They get
you
their
know,
arms stuck or anything.
it just comes off. So you don't have to worry about them strangling and, getting stuck or any of that. So no, I'm gonna keep that part of the process the same. It's kind of one of those things that's it's kind of early really to pick because you don't see a lot in the personalities. I'm sure you can tell even with those 4-week pictures, they're just, people just don't realize they're just coming into themselves. They've just learned how to walk for
Mm.
really a good week. They're just starting to eat. They're just starting to realize they have siblings, and playing and, you know, and at least that's how I see it. They're just getting more active and things like that. So, week 4, week 5, they're still just kind of babies,
Mhm.
they're just so tiny. Now it's funny because from week 5 to week 6, just those pictures you see, I mean, they blow up.
Huge difference.
Yes, and their personality, everything about those puppies from week 5 to 6 just goes crazy, and then you take week 6 to week 8, and again, it's the same thing. These guys are just, I'm sure a lot of people are seeing in the videos that we're doing playing, they're just more confident, and they're just more,
Mhm.
just
Sure of themselves.
yeah, and just out the gate, man, they're crazy.
Starting that key walk.
Exactly,
Strut.
strutting around and the little puppy barks and all that other stuff where, the first 3 weeks you don't really hear anything, and then all of a sudden, it just, that's why I'm so excited about this video diary because seeing them just go from that little black blobby on day 1 to day 8 it's a fun ride, there's a lot going on, so I'm really excited about that and bringing that to life, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to put them all together with little breaks or something where you can watch it like a movie or something and just see, kinda like flipping through one of those books, and make the stick people move
Mhm.
and just go through that 8 weeks and see the growth in the puppies. So yeah, so that's kind of my picking process. I guess I should mention, so in your email in the beginning, when I give you the timelines, I give you the date when this starts. So I'm just gonna say, mark that on your calendar because I'm not a micromanager, so I'm not gonna go back and hand walk you through this. So if we're doing this on Friday, February 15th, you know, please be watching your emails because you do have 24 hours because I have a whole litter to work through. So, if everybody takes their 24 hours to think about it, it's several days. If I miss you or if you miss it, you're just going to get skipped and go to the bottom of the lines. That's kind of how I work that because I do have a lot of people that in the beginning, I would try phone calls and getting a hold of them, and it just didn't happen. And, you just can't drag this on for days because everybody's waiting. Everybody is so waiting, and they've got their clock set. So if they know they're the next pick and it's 23 and a half hours, they're waiting for, me to pass that person and them get to pick. So it's pretty funny. I mean, it's a big deal to most people and very few people actually forget that date, but I've had a few. And then of course they get mad at me and I'm like, well, what can I do? I sent emails, I tried calling, but again, I don't do that anymore. That's your responsibility. I give you the information and I do ask that you read it. and document it somewhere on your calendar so you know what's going on. That's the best way to do it because we just kind of move along. We just keep going. So that's pretty much that. So let's see, that brings us up to week 6. So week 6, we go and we either go or she comes, one or the other. We either go to the vet or she comes here. A lot of the times when I have multiple puppies or multiple litters that are close in age, she'll come here and just do the litters, exams and everything in the kennel with me. And I think one of the things a lot of people don't realize is when you have a group of girls like this, they tend to cycle literally to the day together. So it's very common for me. That's kind of how I do the litters. Normally, like 3 or 4 times a year, I'll have 1 to whatever amount of girls that cycle, usually 2 or 3 within the same week. So I have a bunch of puppies at once, and then it kind of dies off until the next group comes. Kind of like right now, I've got puppies on the way out, and then I've got puppies coming in February, so that's kinda how that works. So anyway, we either go to the vet or she comes here and we do a full exam on the puppies. She does, I don't.
So nice to have a vet that
She's
will come.
amazing, and
That's
she's part of my I wanna have her come and be a guest at some point. She's cool with it, so we're gonna have her here someday to talk about and, of course, in the videos, when I go to the vet, I think I'm gonna start doing that a little bit different so everybody can kinda meet her and, see the process and what she does with each and every puppy as we go through a litter. My vet is Dr. Grissom, Dr. Tricia Grissom at Lewisburg Animal Hospital. She and her team are, I can't, again, they're just amazing. I've been going there for probably, oh my gosh, over 10 years, probably. Can't say enough about her. She is so good. She's kind of on the same page with me as far as care and all that stuff. She kind of leans towards, basics, old school, things like that when it comes to spay and neuter and just everything. So her and I really click. And not only is she a wonderful, wonderful doctor, veterinarian, I'm proud to call her an actual friend of mine. She's really, really amazing. So anybody in the Lincoln County, Marshall County area, if you're listening to this, if you don't have a vet van, you need to be going there. She is worth a trip. I actually, when we moved from Petersburg to Fayetteville, she was I think she was 20 minutes away from me in Petersburg. And then when we moved here, now she's more like 45 minutes away. And I was like, oh gosh, I hate that drive. I just hate it. But I do it because she's great. So anyway, so back to our 6 week checkup. So the puppies get a full exam from head to toe, ears, eyes, throat, heart, you name it, everything. She examines all the puppies and then she does the microchips. The puppies all do get a microchip, and you get all that information in your binder when you pick up your puppy. They also get their first vaccine. It's parvo distemper at week 6. That's the only vaccine they can really get at this point. But I go ahead and start them a little bit earlier than some people just because this area is pretty rampant with parvo, so I like to get that going as soon as possible. I personally vaccinate my puppies that I keep. I do them at week 6, at week 9, at week 12, and then my final set of vaccines is at week 16. And a lot of people don't know if you're going through this process, if you time your vaccines right, that last vaccine, they have to be 16 weeks or older for the manufacturer to warrant their vaccine. So if your puppy was to get parvo at 16 weeks and a day, the manufacturer would pay for all that care to get your puppy through the parvo. So a lot of people don't know that. So always make sure your puppy's 16 weeks to the day or more for those final sets of vaccines.
great
So
information.
yeah, yeah. And I didn't know that. I was kind of blown away. I was like, well, hopefully that never happens. And it really, I don't think it does happen a lot if you're giving your vaccines and you're being careful. I don't think at that age they're usually good to go because they've already had 3 vaccines, but, it is good to know, to wait for that. So, that's that. So week 6, the only other thing I like to ask my people is the ones, that are coming to the house and picking up their puppies to please talk to me at this point and have a date, what day you wanna come and what time. Usually 100% flexible on this. I do give you, again, when I send you out the dates, I give you a week. I always cover a weekend no matter where it falls in the week. So you'll have 7 days, preferably, to pick up your puppy. So you'll just need to let me know that date and what time slot you want. Normally, when people say they're going to be here at 8 a.m., I'm usually prepared from 7:30 to 8:30, for you to arrive in that time period. When you get here, of course, you can stay as long as you want, go over questions and, all that good stuff. But, that's kind of how I work my schedule for when people come. But yeah, that's week 6, kind of wrapping that up. So moving on to week 8. So this is the week you're going to pick up your puppy. Again, at this point, we should have everything in place. We should have discussed everything you need to know, whatever advice you need as far as what your puppy needs at home. I actually have a tab on my website of my favorite products. There's a lot of really good stuff there. There's the crates I use, some harnesses, just basic things that I use every day. And I think I'm going to start doing some reels here and there and just kind of going over the products that I like to use and have here in the kennel at all times. Some of that might be helpful as well. I usually have at least one or two conversations with my clients before the puppies leave. I just had one the other day. We kind of spent about an hour and a half chatting on the phone, going over some of her concerns. Parvo was a big one. She wasn't, it had been a long time since she had a puppy. So she really wasn't, she kind of forgot about Parvo and was freaking out because it's a big deal. So we kind of went over a bunch of stuff, different things to have again, for the puppy and how to manage your time when you have this puppy. And we're going to do a deep dive on that because a lot of people just don't put a lot of thought into it. But through this 8 weeks, you should really be planning, like just thinking in your mind what your daily schedule is. And like if you're sitting at your kitchen table eating lunch and it's noon, what would you be doing if you had a puppy right now? I mean, people don't think about, man, that's like bringing home a newborn baby.
Yeah, how different your life is gonna be once that puppy comes home.
Exactly. I mean, you gotta, everything. This is where probably Melanie will take over my podcast on these things because, she'll kind of walk you through different training ideas and stuff. And yeah, because it's a lot. A new puppy is a whole lot. Day to day, you just don't think about how much work they are and the training, the house training and everything else. But yeah, so I guess John and Blake here. You got anything to add to this? I think I'm just kind of going over notes here and making sure,
Went over everything.
right? So yeah, so that was the timeline. And again, the what to expect on the website is kind of the same thing, And I guess, since we have a little bit of time, I think it's kind of backtracking at this point, but this podcast is really set up for everybody and not just my clients. So if you're thinking about buying a German Shepherd tomorrow, you have to go back and I probably, again, should have started with this, but things to look for in your breeder and things, over the years that I've learned with my clients. I think one of the biggest things that I don't want to, makes me so popular is, it's important for me to click with people. It's not so much about filling out that application or, anything else. It's more of a just clicking with people. And, if you don't have that with your breeder, you're missing out on a lot because we're kind of, I always say I'm your support from birth to bridge. So anytime,
And
even after,
yeah, you're the go-to.
exactly.
Any information.
Yeah. If you're struggling, I don't care what it is. I mean, again, I've had this breed for over 30 years. I've been breeding for over 20. I don't even know how many puppies I've had over the years. I've had a lot of puppies, and a lot of people think that's a bad thing. And that's, hey, great, if you want to come at me with that. But I consider myself a professional breeder. I don't take this lightly. This is what I do, and this is all I do. I do not have a job outside where I leave these babies. A lot of people have 1 or 2 litters a year and they hold down full-time jobs and they're trying to bring up these puppies while they're gone 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. I mean, that's kind of the difference between me and other people is I'm here pretty much unless I have a doctor's appointment or something
Mhm.
weird. we're here. I mean, Melanie's here 4 days a week. I have another employee that's here 5 days a week. He takes care of all the outside stuff and kennel, and, he's kind of amazing. I don't think he wants to be on camera, and he's not really chatty in social medias. We'll probably never talk to him, but, there's a lot going on behind the scenes here that you don't know about. But, yeah, getting back to having a relationship with your breeder is kinda key. And, if you're looking for, and I'm gonna say caisson because this is what I do, but when you're looking for a caisson and you're calling breeders and nobody's answering you and it's been weeks, and, just keep moving on, because I think it's so funny, because over the years I've always said this breed is so amazing. They're so fun and loving and outgoing, but they're owned by some of the snottiest breeders in the world. I mean, they're just not friendly. I mean, I don't know what their deal is, and I probably shouldn't talk about this, but whatever. My clients bring it up to me. My last client, she had talked to another breeder, and it was funny because it was one of the breeders that I despise, because she's a breeder of merit, and she poster litters for sale all the time, and the parents aren't health tested. And of course, breeders of merit sign an oath that they're going to do that, through the KCA, but KCA just kind of looks the other way. So that's kind of a huge pet peeve for me. So, I know this happens all the time because my people tell me, and they tell me names and who they went to and what happened. And so I have this massive blog of all this stuff that goes on with other breeders and stuff. So, find somebody that's going to answer your email. If you've got a question right away, and you want to, you're worried about something, you need somebody that's going to support you, right?
Right.
I mean, if they're just ignoring you and ghosting you, then, if they're doing that in the beginning, they're going to do that through the whole life of the puppy. So there's always that. Just kind of move along and find somebody. Does it have to be me? I'm not saying everybody likes me. They don't. I've got my share of haters out there, and, that's okay. People click for whatever reason, and that's what you need to look for. Whoever that breeder is, find somebody that's going to support you and work with you and answer your questions when you have them. And, verify their health testing. That's the next biggest thing, is verify the health testing, because there's a lot of people out there that aren't really honest about what they're doing. They may do one or two, and they may say, "Oh yeah, I do this." Call them out on it. I mean, say, "Hey, what are the parents' names? Show me their certificates and stuff like that." Don't be afraid to ask that. I mean, that's part of the process. So, yeah, and when you're looking for puppies and breeders, that should be the second big thing for me. First have a relationship and get along with the breeder and feel confident that they're going to support you, and then verify everything, no matter what. And that's why I put everything so easy on my website to confirm the health testing and all that other stuff. But double check all those things with the breeder that you choose, whoever that may be, or whatever breed you go with. And this is just general information overall, not just for the case on. But yeah.
What I've been wanting to ask you, what about this breed? Why this breed for you?
Oh man, that's a good one. I You know, I bought my first puppy in the '90s. I think it was 1990 exactly. I went, back then we had a newspaper. We had a newspaper. And if a puppy was in the newspaper, you went to the pet store, and there was like one pet store in the nearest big city. And those were kind of your options, unless you knew some farmer down the road or whatever that had an accidental litter and you got one that way. It was right before Christmas, and I wanted a puppy for my boys. My boys were, oh gosh, 6, 7, and what, 4, 5, something like that. And I wanted a puppy for Christmas, so I went to the, pet store. It was in Oklahoma because I was living in Arkansas at the time, so we had to drive, I think it was like an hour, hour and a half to get to the pet store. And I walked in, of course, looking at all those puppies and everything, and I found these 2 puppies in a crate, and they were obviously siblings. And at that point, I think I want to say they were like 16 weeks old. These weren't like little tiny puppies. They had been in those crates for weeks and weeks and weeks. Their little feet were turned in and they walked funny. They were a puppy mill puppy. I mean, any puppy in any pet store, even today, that is a puppy mill puppy.
Yeah.
Please don't support your pet stores. Oh my God, don't even get me going on that. But anyway, there was 2 of them, 2 little boys, and I don't know, I picked up one and it was just a connection right away. I didn't even know what it was, and honestly, it wasn't even one of the cutest puppies at that point because he was in that weird lanky monkey stage
Mhm.
with the caissons, they go through when, right about 16 weeks or a little bit older. So he wasn't really, I just clicked with him. I don't know. So needless to say, I brought him home. He was registered, AKC registered. I didn't really pay attention to the name of the breed or anything like that. I never heard of it. I just thought, whatever, this is the puppy I want. And then, so he goes through these transitions, with the coat and I'm like, what is I never had a double coated breed before.
Mhm.
So I was clueless. I'm like, what is going on? Like, is he okay?
Yeah, their coats do crazy
They
things.
do. Yeah, you
Crazy
know
things.
that. Especially the
my God.
hormonal girls.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 2 or 3 years old before I even really started paying attention, researching, I should say, about the breed and learning about the breed. He was just such a good dog. He was the best dog. He had so many health issues and whatever, but he was a puppy mill dog. That's what you get. You didn't have the education you have today. You didn't know.
Yeah.
You had like 2 options, and that was that. And that's why I can't tell you how many times people talk to me. I just had a girl the other day, she wanted a breeding dog for me for her dog from a pet store, and I was like, "Well, first off, I don't do that. You're getting limited registration." But it's like, "Oh my gosh, that dog doesn't even need he shouldn't even be breeding." It's just the genetics are horrible. The dogs are usually sick. Now, I've known people that bought them at pet stores and they lived 16 years and never have a problem. It's just like anything else. It's hit and miss. But more than often, there's some health issues involved there just because of the way the dogs live and have no care and that kind of thing. But yeah, so that was my introduction to the breed. And it was, I just kind of it's been such a progression for me. It's like, I just love these dogs for, 15 years before I even was in a situation where I could think about breeding, because breeding is kind of its own thing. I mean, it's a lot and people don't realize, what it takes to get into this from, oh my gosh, so many different aspects. I mean, just from the care and going through a litter, occasionally you lose a puppy and the emotions that go with that. And then, working with people and all that other stuff. So it's just been a learning process for me really over the year. I just kind of, and by the time I got into breeding, I was just kind of obsessed with them at that point, because they were just, I think at that point I probably have had 3 or 4. Um, and their personalities are just so different and they're just so unique as far as a breed. I mean, what kind of breeds do you have?
Well, this is my first introduction
Yeah.
to the breed.
Yeah.
I'm still working on how to pronounce it, so I'm gonna we'll
Keeshonden.
wait for that.
That's what everybody says. Keeshound, and that's fine. Caisson,
Jason?
but Keeshonden is plural. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
good to know.
So you're like most people. You didn't have a clue when you
None.
walked in what they
Yeah.
were.
Oh my gosh, they're so fun though. Yeah. Well, I have 5 dogs at home and they range from a 5-pound Chihuahua mix to a 120-pound Shepherd.
Yep.
So, and we've got a black mouth cur in there and
Oh,
we've got a
cool.
red nose pit in there and
There you
we've
go.
got little Bruce Wayne is a Basenji mix.
Oh, cool.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, they've all just been kind of
Yeah.
gathered
Yeah.
and they were all actually, our children's dogs and
Okay.
they didn't take them with them. So, yeah.
Well, that
Talking
makes
to
sense.
you.
Yeah, all my kids. I think it's interesting though, whenever you talk to people like trainers in specific, I always like to know what breeds they have because trainers always have pretty tough dogs, as far as like in everyday life for real. I mean,
Right.
you don't see a weak trainer having a German Shepherd. And if you do, it's bad. It's
Yeah.
not good.
Oh, yeah,
But,
that's true.
yeah.
He's our German Shepherd, and he's He's special. We'll just call him special.
Yeah.
He's a special boy.
But they're a lot. I mean, they're so smart. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the Caisson. I think last time I looked, Caissons were ranked 15 in intelligence, only a couple steps down from a German Shepherd. Really smart dogs. And that makes it hard for a lot of people because the dogs
Yeah.
kind of take over.
See a lot of behavioral
Mhm.
issues with
Yep.
German Shepherd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially the ones that were bought in COVID. You see a
Because
lot
they're
of
not
that.
socialized and
Yeah.
everything else. Yeah.
Especially those big breeds. It's so important.
Mhm.
Socialization is so important.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of those things for all of them. It's kind of like, I guess I probably should have talked about this as far as what I do with the puppies, when we're going through those 8 weeks, to kind of get back to our topic. I know we're battling and we're just kind of, again, this is all new to us. So thank you everybody for being patient with us. We're not really professionals, but yeah, some of the things I do with the puppies, it's kind of funny because I've had people come, this was back when they would come in the house. I would bring them in, I would do a groom, I would bathe the puppies. And I had one lady, I was giving a puppy a bath, and she's like, boy, you just get in there and do that, don't you? And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of, I'm washing a puppy and he needs to be washed. So she's like, you just kind of make him do whatever you want. I'm like, yeah, you just kind of turn him, I don't, I'm weird with my training. Excuse me. I don't do a lot of verbal normally. I just kind of have an expectation in my mind and I just go with it. And that was something that popped into my mind today because I saw a reel of a owner, a trainer, training his dog's place, and he had 2 dogs, 2 boards where, raised elevated bed things where, he was placing the dogs, and there was no words verbally, nothing. He just stood there and not even hand signals. No,
Really?
Melanie's
Just
over here doing hand signals.
body
Can't see us.
language?
Just body language.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm gonna do a video this week sometime of when I go to the door and try to bring these dogs into the kennel because they go nuts.
Mm.
They're so excited, and usually it's lunchtime or something, and they're just all at the gate. You can't really see my gates in the video, but they're all at the gate, just barking and jumping and barking and jumping, and I'm like, no, we're not, nope. And I literally just stand there, and I'm gonna film this and post it on a reel until they chill out, and then we'll go inside. So, I don't do a lot of verbal things so much with the puppies. Of course, I have some different just like music things that I play all the time. There's usually always the radio going, but I have CDs that have all the thunder and lightning and horns and gunshots and all that stuff. I play those randomly throughout the week, just different sounds. I always tell people when I go in there, it's kind of funny because I'll be in there cleaning and I'll just pick up one of their bowls. Of course, all our bowls are stainless. I'll just pick it up and throw it, not at the puppies. Let's not do the comments.
Just so they're used to those.
Just so
They're
they
not jumping.
sudden loud sound. I mean, those little silver stainless steel bowls make a lot of noise when you throw them. And I'm not throwing them at the puppies. I'm going to say that again because I know how that goes. Just kind of throw it towards the kennel or something, and just kind of startle them. And for some people, they'll probably be like, "Oh my God, that's so mean." I'm like, "No, that kind of."
Desensitizing.
Exactly. And that's why when you bring one of my puppies home, you read my Google reviews. That's one of the things. Most of the puppies are just they could care less. I'm not going to say all of them because you still have puppies. It's funny because I do the same thing with all the puppies every time, but you always still have that range, within a litter. You have the shy one, you have the outgoing social butterfly, and you have everything in between, and it's weird because they all have the same exposure, especially in those first couple weeks, they're getting the same stimulation and, all that stuff. But yet you still have that. I used to like label them all, you have the butterfly, you have the shuttle, and you have the out, just all that. But I try not to do that anymore because they do change. What I see at 6 weeks doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. But yeah, that's some of the stuff that I do in there, just different noises. Of course, my washer and dryer's out in the kennel, so they hear that going. Just all kinds of different things that I do. I do the biosensors with the babies from day 3 to 16, which is just kind of different And I'll do this in my video diary too. I'll do one puppy and show you how that goes, through those days. And that was like a military thing that they do with a lot of the service dogs and stuff that they found that it just triggers, different things with the puppies. You put them on a cold mat. I don't know. Are you familiar with it?
No, I
No?
don't know.
Man, you need to Google it. There's a link on my website. It's called Biosensor. And it's really interesting to go back and just read the whole thing and just go to my link and read it.
Mhm.
It just kind of blows my mind. It's one of those things I never really knew about until I don't know how many years I've been doing it. It's one of my newer things that I do. It's just kind of it really makes a difference in the puppies. So and it's like 5 seconds you hold the puppies up, 5 seconds you hold the puppies upside down, you cradle them, you rub their paws with like Q-tips and stuff like that and then put them on the cold mat. And it's just 5 seconds. It takes, a minute for each puppy basically. And you just kind of go through the litter and do each one once a day from those. And it's very specific to those days, day 3 through 16.
Hmm.
And they kind of explain, why those days and everything. So yeah, that's kind of part of what I do. They they have what's called the rule of seven. It's basically just different exposing them to different flooring, just different things to walk on between blankets, epoxy, concrete, grass, just having different like little fuzzy mats down and
Okay.
yeah, just get them used to, different environments and stuff. But yeah, so that's
That
all
is
part of the
crazy.
it is, yeah, yeah, and it really makes such a difference. I mean, because obviously in the beginning I didn't know about that. It's kind of like health testing. You go back to my first litter. I forget what year that was, but I had no clue about health testing.
Mhm.
It's just call it ignorance, whatever you want. I didn't know. It's like I didn't think that was the thing. I was a farm girl. We didn't do that with our cows and things like that. And even today, you don't do that with your cows and goats. And,
Mhm.
there is no health testing. So that's just one of the things that's kind of evolved over the years. I don't like to be stagnant. I like to always grow and, be better.
Yeah, I'm sure when you started this, this is all grown from, different experiences and,
Yeah.
oh, well, we're not going to do that again. We'll add
Yeah.
that to the list,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
process of,
Elimination.
mm,
Yeah, because it's hard, Again, I mean, working with people most of the time, it's just amazing, and, like, I still have so many clients that just pick up the phone and call me, and we'll chat for 2 hours, and, like, not even just personal stuff, like, "What's going on in your life? How are you?" And then, the dogs always come into play and whatever. It's getting kinda harder anymore because, it's like, you know, so many things happen over the years and for me as a person, I don't like negativity. I think a lot of people will see that. I don't usually put up with a lot like in my groups when people are being nasty,
mm,
delete, block. That's it. Like I'm not tolerating that. If you can't be respectful to people and especially to me, I give what I get. Exactly. I mean, that's just how I am. I turn back deposits, I cancel contracts. I just did not that long ago. You push me and you take advantage of me. That's just kind of how I work. But if you treat me beautiful, man, call me at midnight and need something, I'm there. There's nothing I won't do. I mean, I'll do anything for my people, and I think they know that they trust me because I've proven that, but yeah, I always kinda like to touch on that because I don't know, it's just weird world out there, and there's so much negativity, and there's so many people bashing people over the stupidest things that don't even matter, and, a lot of them are just ignorant. I mean, it's just, like, since I've started doing this, some of the post comments on my reels, they're so stupid, like and I hate to do this, but this is part of what I do, so I'm gonna talk about it. When you sit there and you see me holding a puppy and you're like, "Ouch." Like, do you really think I'm hurting my puppies? Are you like, really? Like, it's a video. Is the puppy crying? Like, I know how to handle I could pick up a puppy probably in so many different ways that people would never think of. I mean, just because I've handled hundreds of them over the years, like, so I just have 0 tolerance for ignorant people, so if you wanna be a part of Erbekees and our groups and things like that. Just know I don't give second chances. If you post a stupid comment and you come at anybody negatively or, you know, I had one person not that long, well, not one person, several people in our public group being owned by a case on Facebook. They were just asking basic questions about spay and neuter. I forget which they had, male or female, but it was they already had the altar scheduled and the puppy was going to be 6 months old. And they were asking something totally different about the spay and neuter. And you would not believe the amount of people that just attacked her because she was spaying her puppy at 6 months old. Like, not
Gosh.
answering the question, nothing,
Just
just attacking, like degrading her, like, "How you know, how could you do" I'm like, "Yeah, we're not doing this, not." You know, and it's really disappointing how many people are like that, I mean, anymore. It's really disturbing. And, you know, that's one of the things that's why, you know, people laugh about all my rules and all this stuff. You know, for every weird thing I come up with, I've probably had 20 people make that rule happen, you
cause
know?
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's causation.
There's always one that's got to ruin it for everybody. And, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, I used to open my home to everybody. And, you know, it takes one dipshit coming in my private gate and I have
Mhm.
to get a gun and like, yeah, that's gonna stop because I'm, you know, I'm here alone a lot of the time. So, you know, if you're or even in when you're here, I mean, you don't know what's going
Yeah.
on. I mean, and I'm out in the country, so you know, there's reasons for everything I do, and I think if people just take the time to really get to know me, you'll understand why I do certain things. And it may seem like a lot from an outsider, but I'm always happy to talk about it. If you want to know why I do what I, so not really rules, but guidelines. You know, I just ask for certain things. So yeah, it's kind of a give and take. You know, I'm the first to work with anybody about anything. If you need it, just come to me and be honest and tell me what's going on, and man, we'll figure it out. 100%. We will figure it out. So, but yeah, what else do we have to babble
That's it.
about? I feel like I've kind of
Chris,
went all over the place today, but, and I'm sorry, but that's just kind of how I work. I have so much to say,
there's
but
there's
and
just so much information
there is
that's,
that and everything else, so yeah, I'm just really just excited. I hope y'all found this one interesting. It's probably not gonna be one of our bitter ones, but, I don't
we're
know.
gonna edit that out though.
Yeah, yeah,
So it'll
we'll
be all
cut some
right.
stuff out. We'll figure this out, but again, you know, Melanie and I oh, man, we are so outside of our comfort zone right now,
Yeah.
so, just understand, you know, we'll get more structured and more whatever.
Yeah, and I will talk more.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just this is really your information. So
mhm,
it's, other than I did have a couple of questions, but before I could
mhm,
ask them, you answered them. So that wasn't,
yeah.
but we'll get better.
Yeah, we are.
You know.
We got a lot of really good feedback from our first podcast. And again, man, you guys are great. Like, oh my God, the emails and all the comments and messages and texts. And it's just been so kind of crazy. I didn't know, we didn't know what to expect at
Yeah.
all. And
No.
we were like, oh my gosh, are they going to
Are
tear
we
us up
really
with
doing this?
comments? Or do we do this again? I don't know. Do people like us? Whatever. But anyway, we'll try to keep it fun and I think I don't know what our next topic is going to be, but we're going to start working on some of the more important things that y'all. I know we had so many questions. When are you going to do training, puppy training, and grooming?
Grooming.
Grooming was a big one, so we're going to stick Melanie out in the kennel, and she's going to do her thing, and we'll kind of go over that do it kind of just a really quick run through and you know, kind of show my kennel and that kind of thing. I don't know how we'll do that. We'll set something up in there.
Yeah, if there's specific questions, like Jody said, I am far from a professional groomer, but this is the only dog I've ever groomed. I've only been doing it for 6 months, but I
gotta
enjoy it,
say,
and I feel like I'm not too bad at it.
I gotta
So
say,
yeah,
I'm like, you know, because I've had a groomer in my kennel for many years, for probably 4 years. Well, whenever I expanded, I had hired a groomer, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but the way my dogs look now is phenomenal. So she's only been here, what, 6 months? and you have picked up on this. Of course, now most of them look good.
Yeah, they're not
But it's
too
the
bad.
mud.
Some of them are just.
Yes, they go through and their bellies get all muddy and stuff. But yeah, she's doing a phenomenal job. So we'll definitely be throwing in some grooming ones here in the near future. Probably within the month, we'll figure that out. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today. And again, I really appreciate everybody's support through all this, and smash that like button.
Subscribe.
Subscribe on YouTube. I need I need a
And
bunch more.
Facebook.
Yeah, well, I've got a bunch of people on
Yeah.
Facebook, but I think this next podcast we might just put over at YouTube so that I can get y'all to subscribe over there and get that going. But yeah, again, thank you guys for joining the Erbekees experience today with me and Miss Melanie. We are really enjoying this, and I hope you are too. As always, if anybody has any questions or anything about anything to do with my dogs, my kennel, Melanie, grooming, whatever, y'all know where I am. Give me a holler. We haven't posted Melanie's information yet, but we're going to.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Coming soon.
We're going to have her logo and all that stuff coming up. So keep watching. And again, appreciate y'all and enjoy your day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.